Okay, good morning, everybody. A couple announcements. Tonight, I think your Chapter 9 quiz is due, right? Tonight, midnight? So you're allowed to take that up to 3 times on Blackboard. I didn't really look to see who's taking it, but please take that by tonight, midnight. As well, if you did not do your article assignment, okay, where you talk about an article, Friday, next class is the last day, right? So even if you didn't sign up for Friday, but you missed your time, this is like your reprieve. So who has yet to present? Lee? All right, so we're going to have a bundle on Friday, all right? So this is your last chance to do them. So Friday is it. If you don't do it by Friday, and it's meant to be an easy assignment, so please do it on Friday. You get a big fat 0. Okay, so I'm pretty much done. Oh, before I start, we're talking about social media, and my friend, colleague, Dr. Stoner, you guys know Dr. Stoner? He runs Science Day. You know what Science Day is? It's next Tuesday at St. Francis. They bring like 500 high school students to campus for different science activities. And every year they do like a competition. It's supposed to be funny, but it's really not that funny, but it's politically correct. It's like, if you were a scientist, you would do this. So it's like, they make a top 10 list from that. So last year's was, if you were a scientist, you would use the hashtag, and then, people put in responses, whatever those might be. So he asked me, he said, I don't know what to do this year. He said, can you talk to your class about what is the hot thing with high school students? And you guys are a little closer to high school students than me. Well, I actually have one living with me. But it seems like they use Snapchat a lot. So what could be a Snapchat hook?
Usually the geofilter.
What's a geofilter?
Isn't that like after?
So when you swipe left on Snapchat screen in like St. Francis University,
Yeah. So you could be like St. Francis Science Day
So
on it. So, but I don't know like what they would do with that besides.
It has to be like
Snapchat.
it has to be like a top 10 list. You know you're a scientist if your geofilter is.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would that work?
No.
No.
Maybe like what you Snapchat.
Or like what your
Just what you-
story, something about your story. I
Is
don't
there
know.
a-
Yeah, what's on your story? That's like the picture that you let people see over and over. Like
Oh,
usually
okay.
they disappear.
So you know you're a scientist if your Snapchat story contains.
Yeah, that could work.
All right. That's what I'm telling them. Okay. Thank you. All right, so let's go off to Chapter 8. And we're talking about Chapter 7 we're kind of done with. Chapter 7, there's no quiz on Chapter 7. Kind of wanted to get some key terms out of there and some key concepts, but not a real fan of that chapter. But Chapter 8 is an important chapter. Okay, Chapter 8, we started talking about social media information systems. And you guys are, as you see, sometimes more familiar with that than I am. So what is social media? What is social media? What do you think social media is? What is social media? You hear the term all the time. What is social media? What does it allow us to do? Alexa?
It allows us to look up information at our convenience versus it comes on at a certain time.
Okay, definitely it is dynamic. It is definitely pull, a little bit of push, I guess, as well, like when you talk about feeds. But the essence of it is
We share ourselves.
sharing content, right? That's the essence of it, yes? So it allows you, it's information technology that allows us to share content among a network of users. That's really, that's the crux of what social media is, okay? The social and media is the content. And it really enables the creation of communities, tribes, or hives. And these are just synonyms for the same damn thing, like, groups, cliques, okay? It allows us to, so you see those things. And these people are related by some common interest, whatever that might be. Now, if we think about it, okay, forming communities is a natural behavior, okay? It's a natural, since the anthropological, when we look back at artifacts, people formed tribes, they formed hives, they formed, communities, right? But in the past, these tribes were kind of geographic tribes, right? You happen to be part of this tribe because that's where you were born, right? So how does social media change that? And you guys have formed communities at St. Francis. Like, if you're on the football team, you kind of have a community there. Maybe you even have a tribe within it. You would say, well, the linemen hang out together, right? So, or maybe you're the business major tribe, right? I'm an accounting major, so we click together. Or what, a fraternity or sorority, right? Those are all examples of human behavior, of us connecting around a common thing. We're theta, whatever. This is what theta does. Okay. How is social media, the forming of these things, a little bit different? How is it a little bit different? Why is it different? Sometimes those natural communities, tribes, and hives are taken online, but how can it be different? Doesn't it? What isn't it limited to? Go ahead. Very good. Location, right? It doesn't have to be geographic. If I'm interested in, I don't know, beekeeping, it doesn't have to be beekeepers in this area. Maybe it's, I'm friends with a beekeeper in California, or, I'm friends with, a beekeeper that's in New York. Okay, it doesn't have, or maybe China, or wherever it might be. It doesn't have that geographic tie to it. It doesn't have to be there because of the online nature of it. And if we think about it, social media is the convergence of many, many disciplines. Okay, it's kind of hard to specify that this is just MIS because we talk about computer science, sociology, we talk about making tribes, marketing, how we use social media, MIS, psychology, and organizational theory. But there's really three major roles. Okay, and the first one is probably the most important. The first one is the user communities, right? This is why social media is so important. And why it's so powerful. It's kind of a mixed blessing and a curse, because you may be user one, right? You might be in a community B like beekeeping. You're interested in beekeeping. But you're also, I don't know, a fan of Neil Diamond, and you also, maybe in community A, you maybe also are a St. Francis alum, right? So what this allows us to do, if you think about it, well, user 7 doesn't like beekeeping, but they're a fan of Neil Diamond, but you can share content without your communities, right? There's multiple overlaps here, right? So if you think about it, any kind of sharing can happen exponentially. What do we call that when that kind of sharing happens exponentially? Like if I'm in a class right now, 30 people, whatever I say, I am recording this, but whatever I say is kind of limited to you 30 people, you 25 people. But what do we call that nature where things online can go through this network very quickly? Yeah, we call that a viral kind of sharing, right? It went viral. We actually made it a verb. It went, or was that an adjective? I don't know. But it went viral. This thing is an adjective or verb? It went viral, right? We say that. This thing went viral. It got 1 million hits in a day or 2 days, right? Like a good example was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, right? That was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. That thing went viral, right? It went crazy viral, right? And just because it used social media to do so. Now, when we talk about user communities, one of the things we talk about is going viral. What's a viral hook? So we know what viral is. Viral is for things that escalate through those chains, through those communities, because I just don't belong to one community, I belong to many communities, so now it starts going through all those communities, right? Exponentially grows. So what do you think a viral hook is? And organizations try to use viral hooks all the time. They want things. They want their message to go viral, right? They want the good things to go viral. I'm sorry about that. What's a viral hook then? What do you think a viral hook is? Come on. How can we incent something to go viral? How can we try to make it go viral, right? We want to use that, right? That's the blessing part. How can we try to make it go viral?
Share it to a bunch of people and hope that they share it.
Okay, so if we're an organization, yeah, we can do that like as a personal thing, right? Like, hey, this is cool. You get a retweet, you're like real happy, or someone shares, you're real happy. But how about as an organization? How do we try to get people to share things?
Pay for it to be like, what's it called? Pushed, like.
Okay. Go, give me an example.
I don't know, like you could put stuff on Facebook and like pay to make it.
Okay, that's a little different. You like promoted tweets and it promoted. Yes, that's a little different. Okay, we'll talk about that. That's good. Yes.
You can offer incentives like this, and you'll get
Very good.
an opportunity to win.
Now retweet this and you'll be entered into a drawing to do A, B, C. Right? Like this and you'll get a coupon. Right? Those kind of things. Those are called viral hooks, right? We want things to go viral. We want our message to go viral. We make a YouTube commercial for a little bit money. We don't have to pay for airtime on the national networks. And we hope that people share it through social media. And maybe our impressions are just as high as if we'd have shown it at the Super Bowl, but a lot damn cheaper, right? So we say, we incent them somehow to share that with their family and friends. Maybe a discount, maybe a coupon code, maybe enter in a drawing. That's what a viral hook is. And if we think about it, this viral nature can be a blessing and a curse to organizations who are trying to give a message. Why can it be a blessing and a curse? Give me an example, maybe, of a blessing and a curse. Yes?
Well, the curse is like, say for Black Friday, somebody leaking out their deals.
Okay. All right, so that's a good example. Maybe someone got they do that with the phones all the time too. Someone got the iPhone 7 before, and they leaked it out and shared it. You really can't get rid of that, right? So how about your messaging? Like, think about, we had Terry in here, Terry Rockfish, it's for Casper. Think about your messaging. Okay, think about the messaging, the marketing. We'll focus on the marketing that we're trying to get out. Why is it a blessing and a curse?
You make like a mistake or you do something that like people take the wrong way, then everyone sees that.
Okay, so it could be a blessing. Think about 2 different employees. Maybe, an employee posts on Facebook, like, my company is awesome, I got sick and they sent me flowers and, they really care about their people. And they put that on their Facebook page, and maybe people see it, they share it, like it. That message is good message, right? But you have a disgruntled employee say, hey, this place did this, ABC thing. Here's where all the skeletons in the closets are, and they share that, right? And even like when you think about like the political candidates, right? The presidential candidates are trying to run their campaigns, and they're trying to do like hashtags and stuff like that. What happens sometimes? They make up these hashtags. They say the hashtag's going to be blah blah blah, and then people make fun of them. Have you seen that? What do they call that when it becomes almost like a spoof that goes over and over? You guys know what I'm talking about? What do they call that? Where people then use the power of social media and they make fun of it. Maybe it's a picture and they put it in different things like a Star Wars theme to it. What do they call that? Yeah, they call it memes. You guys know what a meme is? Yes. You guys know what a meme? So right. So think about that. If you are in charge of marketing and you say, "Wow, I have this. I can use this for free, right? I don't have to pay for this." But sometimes that can come back and backfire on you, right? Because people know when things aren't authentic. They know when they're not sincere, and they can use that against you. So one of the things in the roles in the social media information system is the user community. That's me and you. Okay, that's the users of it. And when we talk about social media, well, let's hold off on that. The second thing are what we call social media sponsors. And this is probably the one where you don't have a whole lot of experience with. Social media sponsors are organizations that say, we're going to have a presence on this social media platform. We want to have a presence and we want to relate to our customers, our users, our potential customers. So if Microsoft puts up a Facebook page, if St. Francis puts up a Twitter site, okay, they are then a social media sponsor. Okay? Sponsors don't think that they're paying for that. But they are in essence paying for that. Because you're saying, oh, I'm putting up a Facebook page and it's free. Is it really free? Terry, from Casper, you guys remember her in here? One of her jobs is to make sure that their social media presence reflected their message. So when they put up their Facebook page, free, right? When they put up their Twitter account, free, whatever the heck else they use, free. But is it really free to the organization? Why is it not free to the organization? Right, you have to manage that, right? If you just let it go in the wild, you're not going to be happy with the result, right? You need to respond back to people. You need to reply to them. You need to create content that is showing your message, right? That is both useful to the user, but also says, here's how we can satisfy your need, right? That's what good social media sponsors do. And then finally, the third type is the social media application provider. So these are the actual Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Foursquare. That's no one ever uses Foursquare anymore. You guys know what Foursquare even is? Yeah. Anyone use Foursquare? So what am I missing up here for social media? Instagram, right? What else? What else am I missing?
MySpace.
Yeah, that's dead. What else? Yeah, I don't know. That's the one I don't participate in. I don't know much about that. Would you say it's? I guess it is social media. You guys are sharing media to one another. Do you have on Snapchat? Do you have friends? Do you have communities? Are there groups you join?
You just add people. It's like Facebook, like you have your contact list.
It's like a contact list.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's also sponsors like companies can sponsor, like ESPN has its own channel.
Okay.
Like you can look
Is
at
St.
live-
Francis on the channel yet?
No, but they want to
ESPN,
get
CNN.
Okay.
it's like live feeds from
Oh,
what's
okay.
actually happening.
Okay.
That
All right.
people are like filming and then they're posting it
Okay.
and we can see it.
Oh, all right. So these are, Facebook, Twitter. These are some of the major ones, and I really think, probably in your demographic, Facebook isn't as popular. That's the leader, but probably in your demographic, Facebook is not the leader, right? What's the leader in your demographic? Instagram and Snapchat. Did you say? Instagram and Twitter. Okay. All right. So. Does it cost you any money to use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Foursquare, Snapchat, Instagram? No. So they're free, right? To you, they're free. But are they really free? No. Why? What is, they're free to use, but those companies generate billions of dollars of revenue. How? Why? How?
With the social media companies.
Yes. Advertising, right? So if you think about it, they have your attention. That is worth something, right? So you see promoted tweets, you see, Facebook sponsors, those, you see ads on the side. That is how they make money. So they're all advertising supported. So let's look at social media as the 5-component framework, and I really kind of want to focus on the middle one more so than anything. So the hardware, obviously, you have your computing device as a user, your laptop, your phone, your tablet. The sponsor has computing devices, and the application provider, like the Facebook, they use server farms, massive server farms. The software, you think about, use browsers and your Android application, your iOS. This SM sponsor uses a browser application tools. The application provider uses all kinds of enterprise level tools like database management systems and hardware or storage servers. Now the data is the one that I think is where I want to focus on. Okay, because there's really two types of data out there. There is content data and connection data. So content data are things that you share, whether it be a picture, whether it be some text, whether it be a video. It is content, right? It's your profile. It is your Snapchat story. That is the content. That is data, right? The content is the data. But the second type of data that is probably as important, if not more important, is connection data. Connection data is, who are you friends with? What things have you liked? What companies have you liked? That is data about who you're connected to. And that's a little bit different with social media. So if we think about it, the user generates content, they generate connection data. The SM sponsor, their sponsor content, information about their organization. An application provider just provides a platform for that data to be retrieved, to be analyzed, to be shared, to be searched, all those good things. Okay? The procedures, very informal, right? Things are intuitive and learned, not really difficult there. And the people are the users, adaptive, can be irrational, the sponsors and the application providers. So what I want to talk about, so that's a little background, but you guys all are probably players in social media. Let's talk about how, if you're on the other side, right now you're probably in a user community, right? but what might happen in the future is you might be tasked with this. You might be tasked with saying, hey, we're running a startup here, and we want you to be in charge of our social media platform. We are going to go out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, and we want you to be in charge of it. So let's think about, if you're coming from this end, not this end, but this end, how do you use social media for sales and marketing? How do you use social media for the sales and marketing function in an organization? Steve?
You post information about like your products and services that you have.
Okay, so one thing is through what? Content generation, right? And it's a little different, so it can be ad-based, but what typically is people are very good at ignoring ads, right? People pretty much, when you watch a YouTube video, and you're just looking for that skip button as fast as possible. You know what I'm saying? So the ones that do it well don't do it as strictly ads. They do it as something that maybe is entertaining or informative. Like, for example, if you're selling, lawn care products, maybe you talk about when's the best time to treat your lawn. And then you say, by the way, we have these lawn care products, yes? And if you're experiencing this problem, this might be the solution, okay? So one of the things we do is by generating content, and that can be, good content, and it can be, bad content, okay? It can be a little bit too pushy, if you will. What else? What else? What else? How else do we help with the marketing and sales of our organization? How else with social media? So generating content, whether it's informational content that people find via search, whether it is advertising, whether it's entertaining, how else can we use social media? Well, we already talked about trying to generate viral hooks. By incenting people to retweet something or share something or like something. How else? How else? So us generating content, us generating viral hooks perhaps. How else? Yes.
Sometimes they pay people who are real popular to talk about the products and stuff.
Very good. Okay, so there is a whole subset of folks, right, who and we're going to talk about capital, like social capital, right? These people have a lot of social capital. What social capital means is they have a lot of maybe followers, they have a lot of people that feel strongly about them. So even when Terry was here, how did Casper use that? You remember what she said? Like, who was, you remember Alexis?
Didn't she have Ashton Kutcher and people like
Yeah, they said, like Ashton Kutcher was part of their funding, right? Their round A, and there was a couple other. That was the one I can remember. He has probably 6 million Twitter followers, right? Who was the other one? There was someone else. Leonardo DiCaprio. And what they said is, they said, hey, they gave them the option to invest in their company early, probably, at a very good deal. But what they're hoping is that they casually tweet like, hey, I just had the best night's sleep I ever had on the Casper mattress, right? Because that is a way we can, so it kind of doesn't look like an ad. It looks like, hey, this is someone I follow, I don't follow Leonardo DiCaprio, but if I did, and I really had a lot of positive feelings for him, I'd say, well, I want to be like Leonardo DiCaprio, so, maybe I'm going to go and get a Casper mattress, right? So, very good. That's another way we can leverage, and it's not just like celebrities. There are people that are experts at smartphones, and they do reviews on them, or baby products. There are moms that get all these free baby products, and we hope, they write a review about it. And hopefully it's a positive review, and they get these reviews for free. These products for free, and sometimes they even get incentives to write reviews, like they get paid to write reviews. So when we talk about that, we also can talk about incenting user-generated content. Okay, so not just us generating content, but us trying to get others to generate content. So whether it's by, forming a relationship with celebrities, maybe asking people to write favorable reviews. How else? Has anyone ever seen any other kind of way that social media sponsors try to get people to generate content? To promote their items, perhaps? You follow any food companies? Have you ever liked or alcohol companies like a Firefly iced tea or maybe Heinz ketchup or anything? Have you ever liked something like that on social media? No, yes. Well, how do they ask you to try to generate content? You ever have any it's kind of a viral hook. It's a little bit different. Okay, so they have those kind of things. They have little contests like, show your spirit for Pepsi by, by drinking Pepsi and show, taking a selfie of it somewhere that's interesting or exciting, right? The other thing they do is perhaps they say, could you please share your favorite recipe, your drink recipe for Firefly vodka or not Firefly, whatever, for our vodka, right? And you share, so they're sending you to talk about their brand, right? And they know, hey, you may not be Leonardo DiCaprio, but hopefully you have 400, 500 followers who are going to see that. Yes? You guys have seen those kinds of things? Talk about Major League Baseball. Talk about, they've asked people to say, talk about your best memory watching a Major League Baseball game. I don't know if you guys saw those ads. That's them asking you to promote their brand. And people do that relatively cheaply, free, right? They do that. They say, I have a good story to tell, or I have a great vodka recipe, or I have a great Heinz ketchup usage, right? Whatever it might be. And they share that for free. And hopefully, that incents others to buy the product. So there's many ways for us to do that. But once again, blessing and a curse, if things go wrong, things can go wrong as well, right? They can talk about bad uses of the product or service. Okay. Let's talk about, so that's sales and marketing. Let's talk about customer service. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention. Might as well talk about this now. What's crowdsourcing? Because it kind of goes along with that as well. What's crowdsourcing? We've talked about, what's crowdfunding? We've talked about that here. What's crowdfunding? Give me an example of crowdfunding. We see it every damn Friday.
That's when we do like Kickstarter.
Okay. Crowdfunding is Kickstarter says, hey, I'm not going to venture capitalists, and I'm not going to banks to raise money. I'm going to go to the crowd. So I made a Kickstarter campaign, Kickstarter story, and I'm hoping to get $50 from JJ, $50 from Malik, $50 from Marcus, and get to my goal of 20,000. Right? That's crowdfunding. Right? So crowdfunding is a subset of something called crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is what we're doing is we're saying, let's give a task normally performed inside our organization or by an established business, and let's give it to the user community. Okay, that's kind of like, when we talked about these kind of things, like asking our customers to do something for us. Give me an example of crowdsourcing. You see, okay, Doritos is a great example because they were why they're a great example is they were one of the first companies to really embrace crowdsourcing. When they talk about their advertisements. So maybe you know the story better than me. Go ahead.
Oh, I just know that whenever they have their Super Bowl commercials, they'll have people submit their ideas, and then the winner gets to be their commercial.
Very good. So Doritos, I'm sure, has a marketing team, an advertising team, right? Maybe, I don't know, let's say it's 100 people. Probably not that big, but let's say it's 100 people. So we are limited to the 100 people that work for Doritos, their imagination, their creativity. But what they said, this is for years and years, and they typically have one of the better Super Bowl commercials, they said, we're going to run a contest, and we're going to say whoever has the best, funniest, most intriguing Super Bowl commercial idea for Doritos, we'll run that ad, right? And then maybe they incent them to do something, maybe they give them a prize, they fly them to the Super Bowl, something like that. But a hell of a lot cheaper, right, than maybe paying a Madison Avenue firm to come up with a Super Bowl commercial. That's a very good example. What else?
Sam Adams.
Go ahead, give me an example. I don't know Sam Adams.
I
I don't know your example, so I'd like to hear it.
They do a home brewing contest every year with millions of people across the country.
and if you win like your certain style, Sam Adams will like run your recipe and they'll put their logo on it, but your name's on the bottom.
Very good example, right? So you're not limited to creativity of the 100 Sam Adams master brewers, right? Now you're going out saying anyone that enjoys beer can design something and craft something. Logo generation. There's a lot of different things. Netflix even. Remember what I talked about? What is one of Netflix differentiating factors? I know they stream movies, but other places do that as well. But what is one of Netflix differentiating factors? What's one of the services they provide? Not just streaming movies, but what do they provide?
I thought you were gonna say like they have that algorithm that like.
That's what exactly what I was going to say. So their algorithm says, hey, Steve liked these 3 movies, so we're going to recommend this movie, right? That's an algorithm. That's a mathematical algorithm, okay? And what they did, they had $1 million prize, and they said, we're going to just put all this data out to the community. We're going to show them the results. And if you can write an algorithm, okay, that improves the results, or improves the recommendations, and I think they had a threshold, like by 10%, like makes the recommendations better, makes our recommendation better by 10%, we'll give you $1 million prize. And there was a team that won, like MIT, Carnegie Mellon people, but they won $1 million from Netflix for improving their algorithm, right? So they made that a crowd-funded project. Okay, there are things like, you ever hear the X Prizes? The X Prizes are X Prizes. They say whoever can come up with a rocket, to take you to the moon. Usually those are bigger ones, not just for like me and you, obviously. Self-driving cars. If you can have a self-driving car that goes 100 miles on its own, this is early on, Google came up with that, then we will give you $1 million. So those are examples of crowdsourcing initiatives. And it's amazing what users are willing to do for you, okay, for free. So let's talk about, on that same vein, social media and customer service. So social media and customer service, think of a time when you use social media for customer service. Okay, go ahead, give me an example. Okay, so you've used the Yelp application. I love the Yelp application. So I'm in a foreign city, not maybe foreign, but foreign to me. And I don't know where I want to go eat. I don't know where the bars are. I don't know where the hotels are. So I can use Yelp, and maybe I can go out and look at their website, but it's all going to be positive, right? They put up that content. But Yelp allows me to see user-generated content about that, right? How many 5-star reviews they had, maybe a little review that someone wrote. So so any kind of review is a good, very good example of user-generated content that helps with my customer service. Blessing and curse, right? If it's 5-star reviews, awesome. It's a blessing, right? If it's a 2-star review, it can be a curse. Think about Amazon. They actually allow you to write reviews for free. As well, people review the reviews. You guys ever see that? Like, when you do an Amazon product, they say, this was the most helpful positive review. Like, people review this review as the most helpful positive review, and this was the most helpful negative review. So they actually go another level. They say, not only are you going to allow users to generate content about our products, review our products, but then they're going to go further and review the reviews and say, which of these reviews are best, right? Most helpful, I guess is the term they use. What do they charge when you write a review? Do they pay you? Free. Okay? There's psychology there, right? We want to contribute. We want our opinion heard, right? That's just how human nature is. Have you ever bought a product on Amazon and then maybe months later, you'll get an email from Amazon that says, hey, user ABC has this question about this product. We know you own it. Can you answer it? Has anyone ever received that email? I've received that email. Like, hey, I bought product ABC 6 months ago, and this guy's asking, hey, does it fit big or small? Right? And I can go and click, and I can answer his question. Now, they do incent me to do that. I think they give you like an Amazon nickel or something. It's like 25, it's like $1 maybe, right? If you can answer this question, they give you $1. But hey, they didn't have to pay some, service member, some customer service member, $20 an hour plus benefits. They paid me $1, and I'm happy, and I got to express my opinion. So that's another way they generate content. Okay. How about YouTube? Does anyone ever use YouTube for customer service? I don't think I could fix a damn thing in my house without YouTube. My dishwasher breaks, I go to YouTube, right? My microwave breaks, I go to YouTube. We have something going on with our lawn, I go to YouTube, right? If there's something going wrong with my computer, I go. You guys do this, or is it just me? Am I the only jerk that's out there on YouTube? And there are people that make elaborate, right? If you're having this problem, do these 6 things, and they make very good videos. Not all good, but some are very instructional, right? Very, very good. I mean, I probably, I'm not handy at all, right? I'm not handy at all. And I don't have the foggiest idea where to start things. And I don't look at product manuals or anything. And, I could say, well, okay, my dishwasher is not doing this. And someone says, well, and you put in the brand, and someone says, well, this dishwasher tends to do this, so take apart this, do this, that, and that. And it works. And you're like, oh my God, I'm a genius, right? You feel so good about yourself. So there's people that are willing to generate customer service content for you for free. And the organization doesn't have to do anything for them. The primary risk with all of this, okay? The primary risk with all of this, the blessing and curse component, is it can be helpful and it can be bad. Someone could write a YouTube that says, if your product's doing this, do A, B, and C, and it might destroy my product. Might burn up my dishwasher or burn up my microwave, because I don't control that. I'm not, I'm not Sony, or I'm not the company. I'm just some dude with a vengeance. Okay, some kind of axe to grind. So social media and customer service is very, very useful. I'm not going to talk about the inbound and outbound logistics, because that's a little bit of a push. We already talked about crowdsourcing. But what has happened in organizations and enterprises is people have used these tools in their day-to-day life. And they said, we want to use those same functions in our job. And there's a term called Enterprise 2.0. Enterprise 2.0 enables users to share knowledge and problem-solving techniques within an organization. And there's an acronym of the 6 things that kind of go with Enterprise 2.0. And that acronym is SEARCH. Like things like functions that we want, to be an Enterprise 2.0 organization. And the first one, the S in SLATES, stands for search. Okay? If you think about it, that's usually, in a lot of times in our personal life, if something's going on, first thing we go to is Google for the answer, right? We do a search. We put it in there and say, maybe someone has had this same issue. Maybe there's some information out there that can help me. Well, inside our organization, we talk about knowledge management. Maybe someone in my organization had this same issue with a customer. Here's how it was resolved. Maybe someone did a similar consulting gig for a high school. So here's the documents they produced. We want to go out and be able to search all the content within our organization, right? Not content on the web, but I'm talking proprietary content that we own. Okay, that's the first tool associated with Enterprise 2.0. Secondly, just like we're accustomed to be able to click on things and to link to things, we don't care where they're at, we don't care what server they're at, we don't care what country they're at. We want the same functionality within our organization. We don't want to say, well, that's in Arkansas in a file cabinet, I can't get to that document, right? We want to be able to say, click on here, this is linking to this consultant document that you guys are interested in at this point. So we want things to be able to link just like on the web. We want to be able to author content. We want to provide employees ways to share their knowledge. So, blogs, wikis, discussions, groups, presentations, just like users are willing to share their expertise for free, well, our employees even have a more vested interest to share their expertise with other employees. So we need to provide, ways they can do that. Discussion boards, postings, blogs, whatever it might be. The fourth thing, if this thing is going to be searchable, one of the things that's fantastic are tags. So let's talk about the taxonomy versus a folksonomy. What's a taxonomy first? Taxonomy. Chelsea, I'm going to pick on you because you're actually a bio major. So what's a taxonomy? Okay. Okay, so that's one of the good applications of a taxonomy. Like the way you name things is a taxonomy, right? So, and I don't know, give me a species like Homo sapiens. So, what's that? So it's canine or something like that. So, but there's multiple levels there, right? So you start out with like, I don't know, mammals. I don't know, Chelsea. So mammals, then you say canines, and then German Shepherd. I don't know. Okay. But that's a taxonomy. Like the way we name things, the way we classify things is a taxonomy. And a taxonomy is very, very structured, right? This is how we name things in biology. Yes, this is how we come up with things. A good taxonomy example is if you go into the library. Okay, libraries typically aren't real agents of change. But when I was a freshman, I had to learn something called the Dewey Decimal System. You guys ever hear the Dewey Decimal System? Did you have to learn that in your lifetime? I'm sorry. Okay. No one in this day and age should have to learn the Dewey Decimal System, right? It's an awful system. Like 800 means, I don't know, fiction, and 850 means dog. I don't know, okay? So fiction on top, I guess, is in the 850s. But at one point, that's how things were classified. But because of tools now, how do we classify things? Well, something called a folksonomy. So you guys mentioned Instagram. If you take a beautiful picture of a sunset, one of the tags you might use is tag sunset, right? Or tag beautiful, or tag whatever, right? So that is users saying, I'm going to associate this content with what I think it should be associated with, yes? So that's what a folksonomy is. So it's natural, it's not predefined, it just happens, right? It just happens. Twitter was the one that kind of started the folksonomy. So if I'm inside an organization, I don't need to know that, okay, I have to save this under high school, consulting gigs, private. I just put those tags there and say, we'll let the search engine figure it out, right? Maybe by the content, but also by the tags, okay? So taxonomy versus folksonomy. The last two are extensions. Extensions is using usage patterns to drive future behavior, okay? Pandora is an example of that. You like these 10 songs, so we're going to play this damn song, right? Netflix is an example of this. You like these movies, we're going to do this. So the same thing that can happen in an organization. It seems like you're working on a lot of consulting gigs for high school, so any new content, maybe related to high school consulting gigs, we're going to send your way, okay? You may be interested in this. Because you retrieved this document from our repository, you might be interested in this article as well, okay? That is what an extension is. And the last one is a signal, okay? Signals are publishing enterprise content based on subscriptions and alerts. A good example of this, well, I guess an example of this, has anyone ever used Google Alerts? You guys know what Google Alerts are? Okay. I subscribe to Google Alerts. Well, I don't subscribe, it's free, but I have Google Alerts running. So if I go to, I have to sign on, Google Alerts. Sign in. Okay. I have alerts running for these terms. Okay, so if new content on the web, if there's new content on the web about St. Francis University, I get a daily email that says this is what new content on the web about St. Francis University is today, right? So every day in my Gmail I get, hey, these are the new things about St. Francis University on the web. So Google is saying this is someone wrote about this, okay, about St. Francis University. If I click on it, you'll see some of the alerts that I recently got. So football no to look back at Robert Morris. Walters leads Pitt past St. Francis. A lot of them are sports related. Pitt prevails over women's basketball. Pittsburgh at St. Francis. LIU Brooklyn win NEC title. Pennsylvania small bit. So anything related to St. Francis University, I get an email about. So and these are predefined. Charles M. Schwab, I'm kind of a fan of his. That's my brother-in-law who gets in a lot of trouble, and we want to know if he makes the paper ever. That's me. Obviously, I'm a little narcissistic, so I want to see if anything's written about me on the web. This is project management book. This is my hometown. So anytime, so if I go into my Gmail, I'll show you what one of these looks like. So, like this, I got this 23 hours ago because I subscribed to the tag St. Francis University, and new content was on the web about St. Francis University. So think about how we might use something like this in our organization. I'm an expert at one thing our organization does, and someone in a disparate part of the organization created some kind of content about something I'm an expert about. Well, I want to see it, right? I want to understand that. So I can set up an extension that I get information on that. A web example of that is, let's say you use a job search site like Monster, and you say, I want to see any new job postings in the State College area for accountants, right? That's what a signal is. Okay, that's what a signal is. So when we talk about Enterprise 2.0, people want to make sure it has these kinds of things associated with it. All right, the last, Friday. Sounds like we have for Friday, sounds like we have about 6 presentations, so please come Friday. Whatever remaining time we have left, we'll talk about capital, human capital, social capital, and how we use social media information systems to leverage that. Have a great day.